is Ben Fisher. He's a Google My Business Platinum product expert. As far as I know, there's only 2 of those.
No,
Maybe
well, there's actually more like about 14, I think, in the entire world at this point.
Oh, wow. All right. So Ben is an experienced veteran in SEO. He's been on social and SEO since 1994. You can read his contributions at the Moz Local Search Ranking Factors Study. And he's the co-founder of Steady Demand, an agency that works with agencies and businesses to maximize outsourced local SEO and social media. I'm going to let him take over and do his presentation, tell you a little bit more about him.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Gail. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen here real quick. Right. So we're about to get into it. Time to have some fun, everybody. How are you doing, everybody? Thanks for coming. Really appreciate it. Today, what we're going to talk about is Google My Business, how to create, optimize, and engage properly with GMB for fun and for profits. All right. So really quickly, who am I? I don't know. Me, I am a Google My Business Platinum product expert. What does that mean? That means that I get to engage with the Google My Business team on a daily basis, input on the product, get help with issues, as well as we meet with them in like Hangouts every single week. We meet with all the product managers. So it's pretty cool. We get to kind of see behind the curtain and really make some impactful changes to the product, actually. And as Gail was saying, I'm the founder of SteadyDemand.com. And what we do at Steady Demand is we focus on, you guessed it, Google My Business, and everything that deals with, merchants or businesses that have problems with, like, say, showing up in Kansas, for instance, to managing Google My Business profiles. And we have a very unique service where we actually will protect Google My Business profiles from like malicious edits and suspensions, all sorts of stuff like that. We also do a lot of spam fighting too. Like I was saying, I'm a Moz, a Bright Local, and a Local Marketing Institute contributor. I have a weekly webinar that we do every single Friday, actually, with Jason Brown and Eric Schoenfeld. And my specialties really lie in the spam, reinstatements, and Google My Business compliance area. So the first thing that we're going to cover today, and I'm going to try to get through these slides as quick as possible so that way we can actually go ahead and do a lot of questions and answers. So, but if you have any questions, please go ahead, use the Q&A, and then Gail can please interrupt me, and I'll go ahead and be happy to answer those questions. So to get started, all right, how do we create or claim a Google My Business listing? This is the beginning. This is where everything kind of starts. So random fact, by the way, almost 80% of merchants, businesses do not have or have not claimed their Google My Business profile. So it's really important that you do go ahead and take this step. It's free, but the other thing is that businesses that do have a GMB profile get 90% of their business from Google My Business. So that's huge. So if you're not doing this, you're missing out on a lot of potential revenue and new client acquisition. So you go to google.com/business. And as you can see, there's 2 ways to get started. You can go ahead and you can click on sign in, or you can click on manage now. If you're signed out of a Google account, then you're going to it's going to prompt you to basically log in or create a Google account if you don't have one. Once you're inside, you're greeted with this kind of screen, and that is find and manage your business because you don't have any listings. And so then you start by typing in your business name. And what will happen is if the listing's already out there on Google and unclaimed, whether it's a service area-based business or a storefront, then it's going to go ahead and show here. In this case, I put in Ben's great profile, and my great profile doesn't exist at this point. So we're going to start through the process of going ahead and creating it. The reason this is important, by the way, is because you don't want to end up creating what's called a duplicate. If you were to create a profile and there was already one out there with the same information or near same, then it would cause your listing or the one that's out there to actually mark as a duplicate, which can cause all sorts of little technical issues that you really don't want to deal with. Okay, so after you've moved on from this step, you're going to start. So you've already kind of named it, but it's asking you to kind of do that again. And then it wants you to add a business category. You can have up to 9 business categories, by the way, but right now you're only going to choose just one. So just choose the primary category that really describes what your business is about. And the categories that they have are very broad in nature. And there's not that many that are very very detailed, how shall I say? For instance, for a personal injury lawyer, you've got personal injury lawyer. And then you're going to have lawyer, or you're going to have law firm. But again, they're very broad. They capture a lot of different types of queries. So if you don't see your exact match category, don't worry about it. Just choose something that is really close. Give you an example really quick of one we saw in the forums the other day. And this is a company that they're very specialized. What they do is they go ahead and they actually clean solar panels. So they had listed themselves as a solar company, basically, like a company that sells solar panels. But actually, when we looked at the competition, they were more using, they should have been actually using cleaning company. And then they could build content on their site, etc. That's more around solar panels. So anyway, that's just a little tip about business category. So moving on from there. This actually used to be a lot more confusing, and Google's gone ahead and taken some steps to clear this up. But this is what differentiates you between what is considered a storefront and a service area business. Just to make that kind of clear a little bit about what those terminologies mean, is a storefront, let's just think about it like a paint store, right? A paint store is a place that you will go visit to go pick up paint or buy paint. So that would be considered a storefront. And to qualify as a storefront, it would have signage that would say Ben's Painting Store. And so my GMB name and my business name should match as far as the signage goes. So it starts with signage, then GMB business name. And the reason for that is that Google wants you to, or GMB wants you to represent your business on Google My Business as you are represented in the real world. So the next type is called a service area based business. And this you could think of like a plumber. A plumber is usually going to be running the business out of their home and will not accept customers to come to them. Usually a plumber will go to somebody to do service, hence the word service area business. And so in that case, you are going to not be showing your address on Google. And that's really important because, obviously you don't want people just showing up at like 2 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night to come get service if you don't want them to come to your home. It's a big privacy issue. So anyway, you just want to make sure that you answered this question properly. That's all. It's based on your business model. There is something which is called a hybrid, which is a storefront or a service, storefront basically that has a service area based business. But that's for for instance, I don't know, like a Pizza Hut where they deliver and you can come and do a dine in. All right. So the next step is we're just going to go with the storefront example for the moment. You'll just go ahead, you type in your address as it is. Once you do this, by the way, it is set. So if your company is actually in Canada or Mexico and you select the United States, you're going to have to start all over again. All right. So, and this is kind of like what we were just talking about, the service area, which as you can see, kind of Google has this nice little octagon basically there that shows a little service area there on the left. And this does not impact ranking, by the way. A lot of people ask this question. So just do your service area as it is good for the person who is looking at your listing to see. So, but if you do service area as well, you would then select it here and you can go ahead and you can add it. After that, now you're going to go ahead and you add your details. Your phone number, pretty straightforward. Current website, also very straightforward. If you're going to be doing any tracking parameters or anything like that, you definitely want to add them at this time if you can. You can also select, for instance, that you just don't need a website. Not usual, but in some cases, you just don't have a website ready to go. So you could select that. The last option, and that is this, is let's say you have a website which is under construction. It's going to be live soon, but you don't want to put up a Google My Business profile with no website whatsoever. So what you can do is you can select get a free website based on your information. This is Google's free one-page auto-updating website. And what I mean auto-updating is that it will automatically pull in your phone number, your hours, your logo, if you've set it, your cover photo, any reviews that you get. It's going to populate up to, I believe, 6 of them. Also 10 of your latest Google My Business posts, any of your photos, your map, driving directions, all of that. And there's a call to action. So it may seem like it's a little bit cheap, but you know what? It does work. And the reason that Google put that out there is that in a lot of developing countries, they just don't have the capability to put up a website very fast. And so this has just become something that's really useful, especially if you're just like putting up something really quick. All right. Then the next step is to go ahead and verify. That is not my address below, by the way, just so you know. But when you're choosing to verify, you'll sometimes get a verification by text, phone. Sometimes they'll call. You could do a phone call. And then, of course, there is mailing. Well, 90% of the time, you're going to go ahead and you're going to be requested to basically send a postcard. And for the most part, that postcard will arrive. There are certain scenarios where, the local postmaster will not be able to deliver your mail and you won't get it. Well, what do you do? Okay, so if you don't get the postcard after 7 days, you have a couple different options. You can go ahead and you can go back into business.google.com and request another postcard, or you could just go ahead straight and reach out to, for instance, let's just say you're not going to get it. And then you could just go ahead and you reach out to Google support and you can ask for something which is called video verification, where they'll schedule a call with you and then do a live call via video just to verify that the actual business does exist. So pretty easy process. Usually does not fail, but most people don't know that last part. So I definitely wanted to talk about that. All right. So when you are done at this point, this is what your Google My Business profile will look like in your dashboard. It's going to tell you that verification is needed. You'll have all the nice options over on the left-hand side. However, you will not be able to do any posts. You will not be able to respond to reviews. You will not be able to see any Google My Business insights as well. So none of these features are going to be working at this time while you're awaiting verification. And also, one thing that's really important is at this point, you kind of want to just put Google My Business to the side and you don't want to touch anything in here. Specifically, you definitely don't want to touch anything which is on the info tab, because this information is very sensitive and can actually block the verification process. There are things that you can touch on the info tab, but let's just say to be safe, don't do anything. Just be patient. All right. So now what we're going to talk about, since we've talked about creating a business profile, let's go ahead and talk about claiming a business profile, because creation is brand new. Claiming, that was when we were talking about the profiles actually out there on the web and just nobody's claimed it. It's yours, right? So how can you even tell that you can claim a business? Well, it's really nifty. Basically, what you see is if you look down the bottom kind of left, you'll see where it says suggest an edit, and then it says own this business. Well, this is what you see from search. If you click on own this business, and I'm going to show you this in a second, and it comes up and it says, well, this basically hasn't been claimed by anybody, then you can start the claiming process. Or if it shows it has been, if it says that basically this has already been claimed by, and it gives you a email address hint, like the first 2 characters of the email, then that means it already has been claimed. And let's say it's been claimed by somebody and you want to go ahead and you're like, well, no, that is actually my business. I'm going to go ahead and claim that. I need to. you can start to claim the process of claiming that business, and it'll send the owner an email, whoever's registered it, an email saying, hey, this person wants to claim this business. This is useful in the case of when either A, you don't know what email address you have this under, or you don't have access to that email address any longer, or let's say a marketing company went ahead and created the GMB profile for you and they're not giving it to you, you don't talk to them anymore, whatever the case may be. In this case, that's how Claim This Business really helps you kind of regain control of a listing. Also, alternatively, if you're inside of Google Maps, when you're looking at a GMB profile, you'll see this little shield with the checkbox that says Claim This Business. So at that point, you just click on Claim This Business and it'll start walking you through whichever flow is most appropriate. And here is an example, by the way, of a listing where I went ahead, I clicked on Claim This Business, and it says Manage This Business, and it had my email address in there. That means that this business is available to claim. Okay. So this is kind of the message that you want to see when you're moving through this process and these steps. All right. So now let's get on to some exciting stuff. Let's talk about how to optimize your Google My Business profile. You've already gone through the steps. You've gone ahead, you've claimed the business, you've got it in your Google My Business control panel. Now what? All right. So to talk about this briefly is that here, basically these are areas, the info, photos, products, services, and the website. These are the places that you want to hit first. You're going to hit everything that's in the info tab, in the photos, start uploading photos. It's good to upload at least 2 to 5 photos a week if you can, or a month. Sometimes it's hard to get photos. Products, you definitely want to do those. We'll be talking about these. Services, they show up on mobile and other places. You definitely want to do those. And the website, which we kind of already talked about, you definitely want to fill that out. One little caveat. The thing with the website is that if you did not do this in the first step, and now let's say you have a website address. When you click on website, it's going to start to create it for you, and you can customize the name. Make sure before you publish the website that you go ahead and you uncheck the option for it to replace your domain name, because otherwise it's going to replace it with a free website. So once you've done all that, these are the places that you're going to actually come back to on a regular basis. You always want to kind of check out the home screen. Home screen might have like beta invites and things like that, and list new news about GMB. Posts, we're going to be talking about these later, but posts, you're absolutely going to want to come back here and create posts on a regular basis. I recommend at least once a week. Reviews. Reviews, you can come in here and click on reviews. It'll show you the reviews that you have, and you can reply to them. Nifty thing is you can also reply to them actually from your knowledge panel on Google search too, by the way. Messages, very important. You can either respond to messages via the web, or which is business.google.com, or you can respond to them via the mobile app on your phone. And then there's photos. We talked about that. You're going to want to do those. All right. So let's talk about things that are in your control and things that you can optimize. What I'm showing you here is an example of what you should definitely not be doing. You may see a lot of companies that are out there and doing this, and like for instance, the company on the right, Trees by Mike. Okay, well, we get it. He's a tree contractor in Glendale, Arizona. Tree care, tree removal, trimming, stump removal. Thank you, Mike. We really appreciate all of that information. However, these things, which are called descriptors, are not allowed as to the Google My Business guidelines. Somebody like this will eventually get caught, and their listing will get removed by Google until they fix it to be Trees by Mike. So don't be like Mike. If your business name is Trees by Mike, call it Trees by Mike. If you want to add keywords, you have to go through a bunch of different hoops to get that done, including like things like getting a utility bill, for instance, or making sure that the website says Trees by Mike, tree contractor in Glendale, etc. Basically, what we were talking about earlier, which was representation in the real world. should match Google My Business. So unless you're going to put all of this on your website, your business card, your Secretary of State, etc., call yourself Cheese by Mike. In this case, don't be like Mike. So, and I just wanted to give you the one on the left for fun, because that just shows you kind of how ridiculous some people do get with their business names. They put all sorts of stuff, emojis, capital letters, sometimes phone numbers, all sorts of things. And this is not allowed by Google My Business. Okay. So moving on from that, the next thing that's going to help you kind of as far as ranking goes is going to be your categories. And, we talked a little bit about categories earlier, but one of the things that I really like to do is I like to go ahead and spy on my competitors for our clients. And so what we do is we use a couple different tools, but the easiest one I want to show you here is called GMB Spy. And if you just go into Google and type in GMB Spy Chrome extension, you'll be able to find it. It's free. And what happens is whenever you go to a Google My Business profile in Maps, you can click on this little extension button, and it looks exactly like that, by the way. And it will go ahead and it shows you all of the categories and the subcategories that listing is using. Why is that important? Well, let's just say I only put internet marketing service and I didn't put business to business service. Then now, and my competitors are using business to business service, they're going to outrank me, and they're going to outrank me for terms I'm not even thinking about. So again, it is business which is lost. And in the case of a place like, for instance, Rosati's here, let's just say that they only put pizza restaurant. They didn't put caterer, Italian, delivery, or takeout. Okay, well then Google is not going to really know to show you this listing, for instance, for catering. So they're going to lose out. They would lose out on that business. Same thing when it comes to delivery and takeout. So pay attention to your categories. They're super important. All right. The next thing is that I want to stress this, and that is that that you are doing tracking of everything that you can from Google My Business. And one of the easiest things that you can do is add these kind of strings, what's called a tracking string, basically, to your domain name. So that way you can see who is clicking on your website as far as action goes. And then in Google Analytics, if you'll have that set up, it'll reflect and show how much traffic you're actually getting from Google My Business and the conversions that are coming from Google My Business. Very, very important for a marketing person. There's an easy to use tool, which I've just kind of put it down there at the bottom. And this tool, just with a couple of fields that you go ahead and fill in, we'll go ahead and start to make that proper string, and then you can just copy and paste it into Google My Business. Very easy to do. The next thing that you should be doing from a tracking standpoint is you should absolutely be using a tracking number if you can. Now I use the word NAP consistency as an agency. You probably know what that means, but it just means name, address, and phone number consistency out there on the internet, on the web. And so what you'll do is you basically will sign up for a tracking number, maybe with a service like CallRail or Call Tracking Metrics. They're not that expensive. And you would take that tracking number. It would be the primary phone number in your Google My Business listing. And then your actual phone number, let's say you have one on your website, would be the additional phone number. You can have up to 3 additionals, by the way, 2 additionals. So NAP consistency used to be really, really important. Not so much these days, but it is a best practice. The next thing is that you are given the ability to set something which is called a short name and your description. I'm going to go over these each really quick. So the profile short name, think of it like a vanity URL that actually does something cool. Normally you would go ahead and say, set up a vanity URL for social media. Well, that's not what this is for. This is they give you up to 32 characters to go ahead and create your short name. Example, my short name is local SEO. Now, I did that for the cool factor, by the way. just because I could, right? I got it early. You should be doing it as either your business name or your business name dash location. So for instance, it could be, Mike's Trees dash Arizona. Or if he's just in Arizona and doesn't plan to expand, Mike's Trees. And they can be changed up to 3 times a year, but I recommend getting it right the first time. The neat thing about a short name, and we're going to go into this a little bit later, is that you are able to go ahead and solicit reviews really easily with the short name, because you just do g.page / your short name / review, and that drops somebody right into the area where they can go ahead and leave you a review, hopefully 5 stars. So again, it's just convenience, and much better than the big long link that you have to use to get a review. I guess last thing is, don't think about putting keywords in there for ranking, because it's not going to help you with ranking. Same thing, by the way, with the business description. The business description will not help you with ranking at all. This is for users, and it primarily shows up on mobile, by the way. But which is where most people search, and you have up to 750 characters, so feel free to be wordy, but definitely fill it out. The next thing I want to do is I want to talk about product posts. Yeah, product posts. So product posts are inside of the posts option, and they allow for you to go ahead and create categories as well as assign more information to a product. It can be a service, by the way, very important, and also a price, as well as categorize them. The neat and nifty thing about this is, as I've shown you on the right-hand side here, is they show up really high on your knowledge panel. So take advantage of these. Google's giving you the space for it. So if Google's giving you the space, might as well take it and run with it. All right. Also, you definitely want to add your services. Services primarily show up on mobile. So that's another one. You'll see that's kind of a trend here, by the way. And what you want to do is go ahead, add your services. You can put a price. You can do a description. The cool thing about services is that they will show up as what's called a technical term for is justification. But basically, in other words, what that means is it shows up on your G&B listing profile when somebody is looking either in the 3-pack or in maps. So it's kind of, again, it's a nice little thing that you can have that kind of sets you apart from everybody else. And that's kind of what you want to do. The next big thing, I cannot stress the importance of this. Inside the info tab, there's a place for attributes. In here, these are very specific things that you can tell other people about your business. For instance, are you wheelchair accessible? Do you have a restroom? Do you have any of these COVID attributes with like appointment required, mask required, staff wears masks? All very important things, because if somebody's going to come to your storefront, they're going to want to know from a health and safety standpoint that your staff wears masks, for instance, or doesn't. Same thing about wheelchair accessible, restroom. There's even attributes in here like women-led, veteran-led, black-led. And people actually do search for women-led businesses near me. And there has been studies that have shown that this actually will impact ranking in certain ways. So if you are a women-led business, black-led, or veteran-led, definitely come into attributes, check out what's available to you, and select whatever is going to work. Pro tip, it starts out in having this little plus sign next to each one. That means it has not been selected. If you click it one time, it's going to have a checkbox or a check mark. That means it's selected. If you click it again, it's going to have a 0 with a strike through it, meaning does not offer. So important when you're clicking through that you understand that kind of terminology, because a lot of people do get confused with those icons. All right. We talked a little bit about photos, but when you click on photos, you can click a little plus button, and this is a screen that you're presented with, and you can just go ahead and you can start uploading photos basically at this point. I do want to say one thing, and that is on the, for usually an image that's going to go in here should be at least 250 by 250 pixels. However, they can go up to as far as 1200 by 900. So, and I think they go up to 5 megabytes in size. So just keep kind of those things in mind when you're adding photos. And another thing is Google despises stock photography. So try to stay away from stock as much as possible. They just don't get read very well. Let's just put it that way. All right. Another thing is you want to go ahead and make sure you do add your opening date. This is going to be also at all the way at the bottom of your info tab, right above photos, actually. And the reason for this is that if you do not fill this out, Google will show that you've been open less than 5 years. Obviously not good if you've been in business for 20 or 1, right? So definitely go ahead and fill this out. Otherwise, that's what you're going to be shown as on google.com. The next thing is that you want to go ahead and fill out your questions and your answers. You can do this, by the way, as yourself, as the owner. You can go ahead, visit your knowledge panel, and start asking your own questions and your own answers and giving your own answers, as long as you're logged in with the same account, which is the manager or the owner of the listing itself. And so, yeah, so basically go ahead and just do that, add them, and it'll go ahead and add those to the knowledge panel as questions that people have asked. And think about them as frequently asked questions. What's really going to help somebody understand what your business is about and what you do, so that way you can kind of answer the questions before they even contact you. I was talking about a little bit about upvoting here, by the way, so you can get that like one on that you see on the left, where it just kind of shows all the way at the top. This is actually broken at the moment, but I'll tell you what you do when it works is that you just basically have 3 people or 3 accounts. Go ahead and upvote the question, and then 2 upvote the answer. Try it yourself. Maybe have a couple of friends do it, and that should work. All right. Next thing, apologize for the fact that posts are all over this thing, but there's a lot to show you, and I just wanted to do it in one slide. Google My Business posts are really awesome for conversions, okay, and versus ranking. And you get a lot of different options on what to do for posts. The top section of the screen is showing you from left to right. It's showing you mobile, desktop, and then expanded view for desktop. Notice how everything kind of looks the same as far as the post goes. That's kind of what you want to strive for. And actually, we have a really cool template on Steady Demand that shows you how to kind of crop these images so that way they look the same on every what Google calls a surface. But when it comes to GMB posts, I just want to kind of go over each one of the options that you have for posts real quick so you kind of understand where and when to use them. So COVID-19 update. I actually recommend staying away from the COVID-19 update. And the reason is that when you do one, while it shows up really high on the knowledge panel, you cannot add any image to it. And more importantly is that any Google My Business posts that you make after that are hidden from view. So if you're doing posts, it really kind of makes it useless. So I'd say use a add update or basically a what's new post to go ahead and if you have a COVID notice that you want to put up there. These were created, by the way, in the early days of the pandemic as a way to really get information out quick, right away, in your face. For instance, we're out of toilet paper, or we are, we're doing curbside now pickup. So anyway, so they're not as necessary these days. The next thing is you can do an offer post, which is kind of cool. You can put like for instance, your own unique code in there that people can redeem with. However, I do want to say this is that they convert okay. They don't convert as good as you would think. And they definitely don't convert as good as an update post. So I would use them tactically and I would try and kind of test with them. And they also take up a lot of the space as far as the words go. So your kind of the content of your post gets hidden as well a little bit. The update, or what's called the what's new post, That again is probably the best tool in your tool belt. And with those, just some things to keep in mind. 80 characters is the thing, what is the text that's going to be visible across mobile and desktop. So you want to go ahead and make sure that whatever you're putting in there is 80 characters. Anything else is going to have a little dot, dot, dot and get basically cut off. So it's going to kill your title or your lead. And then as far as the length of the post, we found that 80 words actually is perfect. You can do like up to, I think, 1,400 or 14,000 words. It's really ridiculous. But yeah, we found that 80 actually is great. Anything more doesn't have any effect. Anything less doesn't do as well. Event posts are the next style. And I personally am not a fan of event posts. The reason that I'm not a fan of them is that it takes that 80 characters and it shrinks it down to like 25. So because it's going to have a start date and an end date, and then it's going to have a call to action, and it's just, there's 3 lines that you have to work with, and the event post is going to take 2 of those. So your heading basically just became 4 words. That's not enough for somebody to actually get interested in your event. So use them tactically. They used to be used to make a post last actually longer because they used to be 7 days when they first came out. Now they're showing up to 6 months old and 10 posts at a time, which is fantastic. So again, using the event trick is no longer necessary. The next thing is you can do product posts. As you can see now, you have 2 places basically where you can add product posts. So you can do them and compose those in here as well. And the next thing that we are going to talk about is engagement. So from an engagement standpoint, what do you want to do? This is what we were talking about earlier. You want to make sure that you are gathering reviews on a regular basis. Some quick stats for you is that about 79% of people are going to look at reviews which have been left within the past 2 weeks. I get asked a lot, how many reviews is enough? And how many reviews do I need to rank? And the answer is that A, don't think about the ranking, think about the customer. B, look at your competitors. If they've got 100 reviews, try to get 110. But more importantly is try to get reviews on a consistent basis. So that way you have a new review going up every single day or every single week, depending on your type of business. And more importantly, I can't stress this enough. That is respond to every single review that you get. Respond to the positives. Respond to the negatives. Try to take emotion out of the equation when you're responding to a negative review. It's very easy to get your feelings hurt and be upset and angry, especially if it's a negative review. But think about how I am, as a consumer, going to look at your response versus how you feel, really. You can always dispute a negative review, okay? Might not get removed, but you can dispute it. And here's an example of what I'm talking about. So, yes, very bad, negative review would definitely get me upset. However, look at how the owner is actually responding to this review. If you saw this review, would you want to do business with this person and this company? And the answer is going to probably be a resounding no. I've seen much worse than this, but this is pretty bad. All right. Next thing, we talked a little bit about messages. So messages, you can get quotes directly from Google My Business, and they are powerful. I see them all the time from my clients. They get them every single day. And the amount of business that they do from these is amazing. The thing is that if you don't reply to these within 24 hours, Google's going to go ahead and turn it off. So when you turn this on, just make sure you have it on your phone. Make sure you log into Google My Business Web if you have to, but do respond to them as you get them. And then in closing, if you follow these steps, then hopefully what you're going to see is your ranking before and your ranking after. Hopefully you'll have great success and you will be ranking very well and getting business from Google My Business. And with that, I am done. So let's see. What do we have? Gail, you still there?
Yes, so let me ask the question because I have them in a couple places.
Okay.
So Kelly asked, can you edit the location if your office has moved? And I told her yes, but I would let you elaborate on that, how that is done.
Sure. So I'm going to answer this in two ways. The first way is that if you are a storefront showing your address, moving is very easy, actually. You just go into Google My Business and then you change the address. What will end up happening is it'll trigger a new verification postcard to be sent to you. You get it, you pop in the code. If you get suspended when this happens, don't freak out. It's just Google trying to verify your information. It's what's called an integrity check. And you'll just have to go through the reinstatement process basically at that point. Now, if you're a service area based business, it gets a little bit more complicated. They are working on making this easier. However, the process basically is to go into your Google My Business listing. There is no address there currently, and you can add an address, save it, and then what you'll do is after you save it, you will clear it. Again, it's going to go ahead and prompt for verification. And if that fails, you can always contact Google My Business support to have them set the address.
Okay, great. Martin asks, should you register a Google My Business account if you are a freelancer and don't have a traditional company?
Okay, answer to that comes down to business model. So if you are a freelancer and you service people locally, that's the key, okay? If you service customers locally, even if it's only one customer, by the way, just saying, then you would qualify for a Google My Business profile. As a freelancer, you're not going to have a storefront, so you definitely want to make sure that you set yourself up as a service area-based business. One thing I would definitely recommend is just in case you do get into a suspension, you're going to hear me talk about that a lot, by the way. Just in case is do go, even though you are what's considered a sole proprietor, you can usually register for a DBA in your business name with the Secretary of State. I would highly encourage doing that.
All right, I have a follow-up question to that. If you're a freelancer, you work out of your house, do you have to have your address displayed on your Google My Business listing?
Answer to that is absolutely no. As a matter of fact, you should not have your address showing unless you have signage, and usually a home will not have signage. So, the way you do it is when you go through that sign-up flow that we were going through, you would select that option where you basically don't want to show your address, and that way your address is not showing. Google knows what it is because you're going to verify it, but as far as people go, they're not going to see your address.
All right, so on to the next one. It's hard to see the people's name. Tricia asks, for a pest company that has an office, but people rarely come to visit, and the office is not really in their SAB, I'm not sure what that is, would it be better to do a SAB with the owner's home address that is in the middle of the OSAB or hybrid?
Okay, I think I understand what this question is. So basically they're saying that they have an office, but people rarely come. Okay. And would it be better to do it as the business owner's home address? That being in the middle of a service area, that really won't matter. The way that I would do it is since they've got an office and they probably do have signage, if you meet those criteria, then absolutely just go with a storefront hybrid. So you would do storefront with your service area. But this is only if you are going to list your hours as the time when somebody is actually at that service area. That's the big caveat. So for a pest company, usually you're going to provide service 24 hours, right? If you have a call center. If you're doing that, then you want to go pure service area based business because your hours have to reflect the time that you are actually there or somebody is there. Otherwise, it's a really bad experience for a consumer, right? I doubt that the consumer is going to call you up at 2 a.m. to get service, but just in case, they might have a cat or a raccoon in the attic. So, so in that case, it really, again, it depends on business model and hours that you're going to actually be there to answer that question.
Okay, Stefan asks, can I add tracking code to the website URL to track visits in analytics?
Absolutely. You can add the tracking code to the website URL. You can do it to your appointment URL. You can do it to any of your online scheduling URLs. Any URL that you have in GMB can have a website URL tracking code to track it in Google Analytics. Yes.
Okay, super. Kelly asks, thanks. What happens if we have one business, but it's in multiple locations across the country? It is an online service business and not a physical location, except for the headquarters in Massachusetts. We would like to have Google My Business in our multiple locations so people can find us.
Yeah. So this one's a little bit tricky, and this definitely absolutely goes into the compliance area. So there's a couple things that have been stated here that kind of raise my my spider senses. First, it's an online services business. Online businesses are not allowed to have a Google My Business profile. And remember, it all comes down to business model. So it depends, I should say, with this question is they have a headquarters in Newton, Massachusetts. In that case, that could be considered your corporate office. So that would qualify for a Google My Business listing because it is an office. Now, I get that you want to have a GMB profile in multiple states. A lot of people do. However, the problem is that in how you do it. Most companies will not do this within the guidelines, they get removed. To do it properly in the guidelines, you actually have to have points of presence within whatever states that you want to have a GMB profile. You usually have to register with the Secretary of State to get what's called a foreign business entity. Talk to your CPA. I'm not a CPA, and then you actually do have to have something where you have an office. Now that could be cohabitation with another company, or that could be actually getting a storefront, or an owner's home, for instance. So the short answer is that your question is a little bit too detailed to be answered in Q&A format, but my gut tells me that you qualify for the corporate office. You will not qualify for multiple locations all over the country.
All right, great answer. So Trisha asks, can too many categories cause your GMB listing to be filtered out of search?
Absolutely not. So there is a myth about something which is called category dilution, meaning having too many categories is a bad thing. Totally incorrect. There's one scenario where your category can cause you to get filtered, and that would be if you're within 200 feet of another Google My Business listing, say a competitor, that has the exact same primary category as you. So in other words, let's just say you're a lawyer and you have another person who has the same primary category, lawyer, and they're 100 feet, the pin is 100 feet from you. One of you will lose, basically. We see this with realtors. We see this with legal professionals all the time, where they have no idea why, somebody's at Keller Williams and there's only one or two real estate agents who are ranking. And, I set up my new GMB profile and I'm nowhere to be found. Well, it's because you're getting filtered. You can actually tell this by going into Google Maps, doing a search for your category or your keyword of choice. If you're not showing, you zoom the mouse wheel in one click, zoom it out one click. If you appear, you've been filtered. That's basically the test for that.
Okay, but can you do something about it? Eliminate that category, choose a different category?
Yeah, you can choose a different category or you can move. Which in the case of realtors, it's usually, okay, I'm going to go set my GMB profile up over my home address, which is away from the main office.
Okay. I cannot even attempt to say this name, but this person would like to know, can you use the same phone number for 2 or more GMB listings?
Answer to that is that technically you really should. Okay. The way the guidelines say it is that the phone number needs to go to the location. Okay. And so basically, as long as you adhere to that rule, it kind of doesn't matter. However, if you're using the same phone number on, say, 5 listings, 10 listings, that's probably not going to be legitimate. And somebody like myself will probably find your listing and probably report it. That being said, there are situations like with franchises and enterprises, major chains, where they have the same toll-free number. And then when you call in, you can say, I want to call in, find the CVS nearest me. And it'll actually direct you to that location. That's the important key right there. And I'll answer a question that has not been asked. Will Google call me to figure out if I am actually doing this correctly? And the answer to that is yes, it'll happen.
All right, so Kelly says, can Ben clarify the tracking string and getting business reviews piece?
Sure. So the tracking string piece, hopefully, Gail, you'll be able to put that URL on a webpage somewhere. But the tracking string piece is you'll use the Google URL builder. If you actually search that, you'll find it. And there's instructions on the page. I don't want to get into the minutia kind of right now as far as like how to fill it out. But you basically just go ahead and you put in your website and you fill out the 3 fields. And then after you go ahead and generate it, you go into your info tab and you put it in place of your website. And then if you have Google Analytics on your website, then you'll be able to see traffic that is coming from and conversions that are coming if you have goals set up from Google My Business. As far as the review piece, if you set your short name, then basically the short name is always going to be www.g as in girl .page / whatever your short name is, and then you'll do a / review. And that way somebody can go ahead and leave your review very easily. You can put this on your signage, you can put it on your window, you can put it on a business card, you can put it in your emails, whatever you want to do, people can get to it and leave you a review. And hopefully that answers the question.
All right, so I'm going to have to ask you to get me that link so I can add that to the content too.
Sure.
Stephanie asked, what category should I select for a steakhouse? Steakhouse or restaurant? There is a restaurant nearby, but not a steakhouse nearby.
Okay, well, if you want to hold on for a second, I'll just go take a look. So my first, by the way, you're going to use restaurant, absolutely. I'm just going to do a quick query. Okay, it looks like steakhouse, at least in the United States, does have a category.
Right, he's in Germany though, so it may vary, I would think.
It may be called something else. That's the thing. So in the US, we have steakhouse, American restaurant, bar and grill, restaurant, and sports bar. For instance, I'm looking at Black Angus right now. And so that's what they're using for categories. If I take a look at a nearby competitor, they are using steakhouse, American restaurant, new American restaurant. I haven't seen that one before. So if you use that tool that we were talking about, which is called GMB Spy, then you can go ahead and you can take a look at your competitors that are near you. And that'll give you a really great indication as to the kind of categories that you should use.
Okay. My friend whose name I can't pronounce is back. My competitors have made fake listings of my listing with fake addresses. How can I get them removed?
Okay, great question. So basically, yeah, we have actually an entire service around removing fake listings. But how you will do it yourself is the first thing you want to do is you want to do something which is called suggest an edit. Okay, it's right on their business profile. And then you want to go ahead and report that as either non-existent or fraudulent. So that's number one. When you report them, it teaches Google's machine learning a little bit more about basically what that listing. And so that's step one. And then give it about an hour, sometimes a little bit more. and you'll get an email, and that email will be like, thank you for making the edit, or it'll say published. If it says published, congrats, it got accepted. If it says thank you for your edit, then that means it probably didn't get accepted right away. So what you need to do is you need to go and report it on the Google My Business redressal form. That's REDRESSAL. And you just go into Google, search on that, Google My Business redressal. And then you're going to be able to go ahead and report any listing which is fake or fraudulent in nature. And then you just go ahead and you fill out the form, you send it to Google. There is no guarantee that they're going to remove it. By the way, they will not communicate with you at all about it because you don't own the listing. So you just have to keep an eye on the listing. Another thing is that they give you a lot of ways to provide them with information as far as facts and proof that the listing is indeed fraudulent. Understand, these are people that are reviewing this. They will not go off your word. This is fake. You have to give them lots and lots of information and proof to be able to show that it is illegitimate.
Okay, so Martin says, if you're working with international clients, he's located in Europe, but he wants to use Google My Business for global and local. I don't know.
I know what he's talking about.
I don't know that, but yeah, I think he's in Sweden.
Yeah. So basically, hey Martin. So yeah, basically doesn't matter where you're at. Let's go with Sweden, right? That's the local clientele, and let's say international could be Canada or United States. And in that case, you're going to only qualify for a GMB listing in your local area in Sweden. You're not going to be able to qualify for a GMB listing that is in the United States unless you have a United States office. That's the big thing. So that's the short answer.
Okay, so he could get an office with someone and then he could do it. All right. That said, thanks for the session. My Google page suspended. I wasn't able to find the exact reason, so I removed the listing. Then I claimed the Google page with business mail ID, and I'm currently waiting for postcard verification. Please let me know if this is the right process, or if not, please suggest what I need to do.
Yeah. So, Vivek, I'm sorry. So the first thing is, sorry that you're suspended. There could be many different reasons. Google will usually not tell you exactly what the reason is. However, removing the Google My Business profile from your dashboard is not the proper way to go about it, because you've basically, if it was an older profile, you've basically lost everything. If you had any reviews, any ranking ability, whatever, that's gone forever. So the best process is to, when you're suspended, is to appeal for reinstatement. And if you can't get reinstated, then you get declined, you go to help and support and ask them. And if they decline you, you can always come to the Google My Business community and have one of us product experts take a look at it, and we'll give you our opinion. So really at this point right now, unfortunately, there's no way to restore that. So you're at the point of basically creating a new listing. More than likely, the problem that you had with your initial listing will still be the problem with your with the listing that you're going to do now. That one will probably get suspended as well. There's an unspoken 3 strikes rule, okay? And so you need to be very careful. If this one, the new one, gets suspended, then what you want to do is you want to go through what we just described, which is the reinstatement process. So that way you can kind of go through the proper hoops, how shall I say, to get actually reinstated.
He says that he has an option to claim the business now. So he says, can we claim the suspended Google business page, or should we?
If he has the option to claim it now, then that means it's on the web. Okay, so that might be what's considered a soft suspension, which means that the account actually is in question, not the listing, when you removed it from the dashboard. So what I would do is I would use another Google account, and I would go ahead and claim it from the web into a different Google account in that case.
Okay. I'm making notes. I don't know that I'm going to be able to get to these. Trisha was
Okay.
very kind and sent us the link for the UTM tracking tool, which I saved.
Thank you, Trisha.
And Stefan said we got Steakhouse Butt, and that's all it says.
Okay.
Kelly said this is one of the best tutorial webinars I've ever been on, informative, so saying thank you.
Oh, thanks, Kelly.
And Leor said, what about removing a fake review?
Good question. So we're removing a fake review. How much time do we have? You've got a second. I can go.
Time, but it only has to stay, and I don't think it'll disconnect us.
All right, give me a second. I want to go pull up something for you. It's going to take me a minute to pull out of my files. I'm going to give you something that's going to make your life so easy. Okay. All right. This is something new, by the way, which is why I'm going through all this. All right. So this is the URL. Let's see if I can put it in there. Can I put it in there? Darn it, I don't think I can. Can I enter the question?
You can click the answer on the question and put it in there.
Let's see. Aha. Thank you. All right. So that link, save it. What that is a very new and specific what's called workflow for review, removal, as well as monitoring of the response. So you can report a review that you don't like one time, and you have one appeal. So what you do is you go through this tool. It'll ask you to select your business listing if you have 3 or less listings. Then it'll bring up all of your reviews, and you select the review which you are disagreeing with, and you can dispute it with quite a few options. Select the option which is best for you. It'll submit it to the team, and then Google will respond to you, actually usually sometimes same day, but usually within 24 hours with just a decision. And that decision, you may or may not like it, by the way. Respond to that review, by the way. Make sure you do that. And then go ahead, go through this process. If they say, sorry, no, we're not going to remove it, we don't see any violation, you can always contact Google Helps support and appeal it. And then basically at that point, if they say no, you can always come to the community, which is at support.google.com/business. And then there's a tab for community, and you can have a product expert take a look at it. I've said it a couple times, by the way, just so you know, everybody, if you really run into problems, you can always come to the community. Okay, but try to go through support first. Anyway, that's actually the process for it. So hopefully that helps.
All right, super. We have 2 more questions. I think they're fairly short. Sean asked, if you want to find someone to manage your Google My Business, same as with your website or your social media, how do you choose the right person?
Give me a call. No, just kidding. Not promotional at this point. No, seriously, you want to find somebody who understands Google My Business inside and out. And the reason for that is that, again, GMB is going to represent up to 90% of your income. So you don't want to hire a website person for this. You definitely don't want to hire a social media person for this. I can tell you, I've seen social media profiles, people who are running a GMB profile that are social media people get their GMB profile suspended because they keep on putting up the same post, and it gets rejected, and gets suspended. Anyway, really, you want to go ahead and type in, Google My Business Management or Google My Business Services or things like that into Google, and go find somebody who knows what they're talking about. It's that important. So I would find a specialist.
Can I ask a follow-up question? Google My Business Platinum Product Expert, Gold Product Expert, what do those indicate?
Sure. So basically, we are volunteers. We help out the community, kind of like what we've been talking about. And we also work with Google. So there are multiple levels, 4, actually. There is silver, well, technically 5, but it doesn't matter. If you go in and answer 10 questions, yay, you're a bronze. It means 0. But silver is the first level above that. And this is, by the way, when Google has selected you directly. Silver is you're just getting trained on the ropes, and you have no NDA that you've signed, so you don't get to see behind the curtain. It's kind of like you're wandering around in Oz, but you don't get to do anything or see anything. You just kind of get to hang out. You're part of the club still, though, of course. So when you graduate from silver, that means that you have a good, thorough understanding of Google My Business, and also you're respectful and you're helping out a lot of people, and you get graduated to gold. And a gold level expert does have access to everything that a platinum does. You have access to Googlers. You've got access to the Hangouts that we do. You get to go to the PE Summit, which happens every single year. Currently it's virtual, but we used to go to Googleplex all the time. And that's the kind of the standard. There's around 40, I think, golds. And then platinum, like I said, there's only 14 of us in the world. And we are mentors, we're educators, we do stuff like this, for instance. We write a lot of content. We also help other people into the program itself. And yeah, so that's the platinum level. And then there is the diamond level, which is held by our dear friend Helmut. He is only one in the world. He's out of Germany. He's a retired fellow. He's awesome. He will curse at you on the forum inside and out if you behave badly. But yeah, anyway, that's the difference.
Okay, super. So I have one more technical question.
Okay.
Stefan said, I cannot add a Google My Business listing in the Netherlands when I am in Germany because the zip code field, a German zip code has 5 numbers and a Netherlands zip code has only 4. So
well, it shouldn't matter where you're from. Yeah, it shouldn't matter where you're from when you're registering the Google My Business profile. So if you selected the country, then the 4 digits should work. If it doesn't, reach out to Google My Business support.
Contact support. Leor said, thank you. And that's probably in reference to the removing fake reviews. And the last question, one more came in from my friend with the impossible name.
Oh, I know.
Why get suspended every time I post as an update and what's new? Am I red flag for posting the image as an update?
All right. So this one is actually really easy to answer. So it's not getting suspended as far as terminology goes. It's getting rejected. So that's actually what the little red message says on the image is it's getting rejected. Let me explain this one. So images, again, are kind of really, really touchy when it comes to Google My Business. They don't like stock photography. There are rules when it comes to the image sizing and also text. So for instance, one of the rules, and these are all in the guidelines, by the way, I would just search Google My Business image guidelines and you'll be able to read through all of them. But one of them is like, you can't have more than 10% text. That's, it's not a hard, fast rule, but it will cause something to get rejected. It can't be too dark, for instance. So let's just say you're in a really dark room and you take a picture of yourself. That's not going to fly. It can't, have cut and paste images all over the place of the image. I see a lot of people, they'll throw their logo up in one corner and text in another corner, and their phone number in another corner. Phone number not allowed. These things, again, are not really allowed. So they want true, really good, high quality images. So basically, really, in a nutshell, is you want to go ahead and provide high quality images. If it's getting rejected, you can always come to the Google My Business community and we can take a look at the image and tell you what we think. There's another pro tip on this, and that is you can use Google's Cloud Vision API. Sounds scary, but not really. Just type it in Google Cloud Vision API and it'll come up with a website. You can test the API, which will allow you to upload or drag and drop an image, and it'll tell you exactly what Google thinks that image is about. Example is that we had somebody come to the forum And they were like, my post keeps getting rejected. Why? And we said, okay, well, give us the image. Let's see what it looks like, and we'll tell you. It was a mold removal company. They had basically taken a picture of black mold, and it was up in the upper corner of the ceiling. Take that image, you run it through Google Cloud Vision, it actually came back as an adult image. So even though it was a ceiling with mold, Google thought it had to be something like that was adult, whether it was like a hairy armpit or something else. Either way, that was the reason why it kept on getting rejected. So as soon as they replaced it with another image, it was accepted. So so that's one way you can debug that.
All right, so we are caught up now. Lior said thank you, and Stefan said thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so I want to let everyone know that the replay and the presentation will be placed into the blog post on the BizSugar blog so that you can watch it. It'll also be emailed to everyone who registered for the webinar, and it will be on the BizSugar YouTube channel. So definitely get a copy of it. And remember, we do this every second and fourth Wednesday at noon Central. And the next upcoming events are also in the blog post that talks about Google My Business. Thank you so much, Ben. I really appreciate it. I forgot. I'm Google My Business guy, and Ben was so kind to step in and give us a fantastic overview.
Right on. Well, thank you so much for having me, Gail. And yeah, I'll have to message Mike and thank him for bowing out.
All right. Look forward to seeing everyone at the next event.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming and putting up with this. I hope you learned a lot. If not, you can always reach out to me. My DMs are open. I'm the social dude on Twitter, or you can reach out to me at steadydemand.com. So I always reply to my messages. Yes. So happy to help.
All right, great. Thank you, Ben. And I will put your slide with your contact information at the end of the video, so people will have that. You didn't leave it on the screen very long, so I will make sure that they have access to that.
I wanted to get to the questions. You're welcome. Thank you.
We did, and we had a lot of them. All right,
Yeah, we
super. Did. All right, I'll let you know when everything gets updated.
All right, cool.
Thank you, everyone.